Good day, everyone. This is Patrick from EasyFX Code Trading System, and this Saturday, the 5th of August, 2023. And it's the weekly technical analysis for the Euro, the cable, and the Aussie dollar for the second week of August. And all these major pairs, they resume the bearish momentum until they found support. And especially with the cable, where on Thursday the BOE did raise interest rates. It still continued its bearish momentum, while the RBA on Tuesday did not raise interest rate as expected, and they also continued. The Aussie dollar also continued to weaken until it struggled to find support. And on Friday, all these three majors did manage to pull back up at the expense of the US dollar, as the jobs report, the non-farm payroll report, came out weaker than expected, and giving some glimmer of hope that the Federal Reserve could take a pause in the next meeting in September. So let's review what the key fundamental drivers were for last week, and then a look ahead for this coming week. Last week's main news basically came from the two central banks, with the RBA and the Bank of England. While the RBA did not raise interest rates, which surprised the market and drove the Aussie lower and weakened it further. While the Bank of England also followed the ECB last week and also raised interest rate, but also could not maintain any strength and continued to weaken from last week as well, until Friday's US non-farm payroll report, where it came out lower than expected and gave the market a glimmer of hope that perhaps the Federal Reserve could pause in September and collect more data, especially this coming month. And this coming week will be a key one with the CPI figure. So that's going to be a key indicator for the Fed to look out for. But the market is forecasting a slightly higher than expected increase in CPI over July. And similarly for PPI on the Friday as well. Perhaps it did dip down below for the previous month, so they're expecting a slight adjustment. And Friday, there was also the UK GDP, so they're forecasting a slight positive performance, slight growth compared to the previous month. So we'll see how these will impact the US dollar and against the major currencies for next week. All right, let's move back to the analysis. Let's begin with the Euro. Since last Thursday's ECB's rate hike, it has been struggling to find support and resume its weakness this first half of the week, until pause with a spinning top on Thursday, and then finally some hope with a pullback up on the Friday with the lower than expected non-farm payroll report, and climb back up above 110 and right into the swing high again, where it did dip below and then coming back up to that level for see whether it's able to recover more it needs to continue to climb back up above that swing high. Otherwise, if it falters and breaks down below the 78.6 pip retracement, then it's going to go further lower into the 62 pip retracement. So move this out over further, and as well as the higher one, there's still support at the 78.6, and perhaps a further support down at the 62 pip. So this could be an interim support now. Let's take a look on the weekly time frame. And it has closed as a doji and a possible bullish continuation, but further up there's the weekly 200 EMA along with the resistance zone above that. So it needs to struggle to climb back above and reach 111. So for now, I think we'll leave the strong resistance at 138 fib. Okay, so it's going to be exposed to US CPI news this week. So there's no Eurozone news, and it needs to react to the US dollar's price action. Okay, let's compare this with the US dollar index, the DXY. Here's the US dollar index, where it managed to climb all the way back up to retest this previous trend line that it broke down from. So it has climbed back up to retest it, and then was rejected and pulling back, and especially on the Friday with the US non-farm payroll data, which came out lower than expected and fell back into the resistance that it broke out from. So it has recovered quite a bit over the last few weeks, and let's see whether it's able to resume after a retracement. And key will be this week's CPI and PPI data. Let's take a look on the weekly time frame, and turns out to be a spinning top, and after testing the rising trend line and pulling back. So there could be consolidation within this upper wick here for next week. So this is now an interim support, and we'll likely move this up here as a significant resistance now at the 62 fib retracement. $101 is still interim support, and below that the key support will be at the 138 fib. And we'll move this interim support here at the swing low. At this 100 pip. So we'll see if there's a further retracement for this coming week, and whether it's going to find support at the 101 and attempt to climb back up. Now we can also there is also another trend line that we can add down here, which seems to have been tested. Right, and we'll see if it's going to be able to climb back up above the 102 and break above that to attempt to reach the 62 pip. So this could also be an interim resistance here at the 102 and the 78.6 for retracement. Okay. All right, there's some key support that needs to hold, and we'll see if there's able to break through higher. So right at a critical area for this coming week. All right, let's move back to the other pairs. Let's take a look at the cable. And after Thursday's rate hike, they did dip lower initially, but managed to bounce back up to close as a doji, and it's attempted to climb back up on the Friday with the help of the lower than expected non-farm payroll report. And this could be a morning doji star, and we'll see if there's any continuation from there and whether it has really closed back above this trend line. And it's sitting right at the 78.6 retracement. So it needs to climb back up above the swing high here. So that's interim resistance. And the key resistance now is at the 130 round figure. Support is slightly lower now at the 62 pip retracement area, and as an intermediate support. With a major support at the 50 pip retracement. Let's remove this for now. So on a weekly time frame, it's struggling to stay above this trend line, and it really needs to gather momentum to climb back above the 100 pip, the swing high, previous swing high. Otherwise, there could be some consolidation around the low wick area. So we'll see whether this week's US CPI data will have any impact on the cable and the sterling pairs. And on Friday as well, they have their GDP figure, which they expect to be higher and positive over the previous month. Okay. All right, let's move on to the Aussie dollar. And the Aussie dollar did not fare too well. They did attempt to recover on the Monday at the start of the week after finding support and testing the lower trend line. But unfortunately, when after failing to break above the 38 fib retracement, and with the RBA surprising the market and not increasing rates, it fell through the trend line on Tuesday and retested and fell further on Wednesday, finally struggling to find some support on Thursday, and then managed to also pull back up higher along with the other major currencies against the US dollar. But after hitting the 66 round figure, it pulled back as well and closed with a long upper wick. So still in a falling in a weak strong bearish momentum here, and struggling to find support. And this week there's exposure to the US CPI figure. Let's also take a look on the weekly time frame. And yes, it's still a bearish close for the week and breaking below this trend line. And it's almost hitting the 65 round figure, but managed to climb back up, back above the 78.6. So this is resistance at the 62 fib now. And the major support is down at 65. Interim level at 78.6. So remove this for now. Major resistance back up at the 68, where the daily 55 is coming down, and perhaps even before that as well at the 50 fib, but we'll leave it there first. We can remove this. Okay, and of course there's another major support at the swing low, which will be very weak if it drops further to test that level. Okay. All right, so do check out my other videos on spot gold and dollar yen. Have a safe week and a good trading week, and cheers for now.